Welcome back to the Optional Boss Podcast. We're your hosts, Josh and Tyler, and this is episode 60, where after 60 episodes, we are talking about grinding. The love of the grind. Tyler, how does that make you feel?
Depending on the day, that can make me feel tired and lethargic, or some days it can make me feel incredibly motivated and accomplished, It's a very fascinating concept. As for the topic, I don't know. I think it's just a good excuse to talk about RPGs. I'm okay with that.
Yes, and it's kind of funny because as much as I'm not a huge fan of our first episode, it certainly humbles us. Where we talked about random encounters in RPGs and the likes and dislikes. This is going to be slightly different because this isn't just RPGs that we're going to be talking about. This is going to be listen and you'll find out. But in the meantime, we'll get started with our rambly intro. Tyler, what have you been up to?
It's been so long since we last had a discussion like this. I don't remember what I was doing last, but I know
we didn't miss an episode. I swear.
No, you were. Nothing happened, folks. But I have started.
That was the problem.
Armored Core 6 in that time. And
nice,
you hear it's just Dark Souls with robots, or it's nothing like Dark Souls, but it's got robots because it's a FromSoft game and they have such high expectations. And really, all I have to say about it is it's a fun ass time.
It's funny how everything that FromSoft comes out with, regardless of what the actual title is it's Dark Souls, just different.
It's going to be looked upon in the same way, but no, it is very much its own thing. And I would say, I don't know, I'm probably about halfway through it, and it has made me a fan for what I have enjoyed. So that's been great.
That's good.
It's always nice to
That
try
is definitely one I'm going to steal off you at some point, because I do want to check it out. It's one of those series that it's I've heard a lot about, but I know nothing about it. And I've dove into FromSoft's backlog of Kingsfield 1 and 2, the Japan version of Kingsfield 1 and 2, I should say. Because we didn't technically get the first one. Our Kingsfield 1 was number 2. And they're fine. For its time, it's great, but they're you know what, they can be a bit grindy.
For me, it's not even that it's a FromSoft game, though that does get us a lot of points. They've got a pretty solid reputation in my mind. But I just think mechs are cool. Going back to Windows 95, playing Mech Warrior 2, that is my stuff. So,
and see, this is where I don't know how I'm going to fare with Armored Core, because I'm not a huge mech guy.
It's
with that said, Titanfall 2, the single player campaign, I did enjoy quite a bit.
See, funny enough, I have no experience with Titanfall as a mech guy, but that seems like a mech game to me. So big robots blowing stuff up, it's a good time. It's also got surprising amount of plot and depth to it. So,
oh, it has to.
Yeah.
Does it have patches?
I don't know yet.
Fair.
But I have heard that he is hiding in there somewhere. Beyond that, though, I've been playing a lot of Fire Emblem on the Switch Online Game Boy Advance. They put the Sacred Stones on there recently. And I haven't played a lot of Fire Emblems. I'm not huge on tactics, but this is one of the ones that I would say, if you don't know anything about the franchise or you're apprehensive, this is a good one to start, because it feels almost like its own thing compared to what you would stereotypically think Fire Emblem is. Still the same, tactical gameplay, but
sure,
it's very easily digestible. I would say the plot is, it's a pretty good story for what it's trying to do, and it's not super overwhelming. And just also playing it on the Switch Online, it's easy to recover from my mistakes. So, it's that whole rewind feature thing. You know what, folks? If you're just looking to get through a game, it's fine. There's no judgment.
I can definitely vouch for that as someone who has done that in the past.
Yep. So, but it's a good time. I'd recommend it. I've a couple other, but before I just keep going on and on, how about yourself? What have you been dabbling into?
Okay, well, first question for you. Did you finish your Nuzlocke?
Oh shit, that's right. I got really close. I hadn't lost. It is currently just on standby.
Can't lose if I don't play.
Honestly, I feel like that's part of the. I think I'm like 7 badges deep. Like I'm not far from the end of the game, but yeah, it was just one of those things where like I kind of got burnt out on it a little bit. Like I could try to come back to this later and maybe complete it. So, yeah, it's still
fair.
It still exists, but not to say I completed it.
No, that's fair. But you haven't lost.
I haven't lost yet. No, it still survives.
That's an important fact, right?
Yes. And I'm just hoping, because it is on an actual Game Boy Advance cart, that my save is still there when I do return. It should be. The card itself is fine, but that is the risk.
Yes, always. Especially with those older Pokemon games. Yeah. Well, the original Game Boy ones, I know it's always a question if it's going to happen or not.
Yeah.
For myself, I've dove into a world of RPGs, like one after the other. I played Dragon Quest III, the 2D HD remaster. Hilarious thing that happened with me. I didn't realize that I was on the hardest difficulty. And I've spoke previously, probably numerous times now, that I'm not the biggest RPG fan. I enjoy the games because they're usually very story focused and they usually tell great plots. Not so much with Dragon Quest. It's like, hey, do things. And so I didn't realize that. I played about 2/3 of the game on the hardest difficulty, and it wasn't until I got to a certain boss fight that it's like, oh, this is fucking stupid. And then I went to go turn it down to easy, and it's like, oh shit. So I ended up going down to normal, and then later on, when the game does, without spoilers, it gets to a certain point and it's like, okay, so this is, I just want it to be done. Like, I had a good time with it, but I just turned it down to easy and just finished it up because it's like, oh, it just keeps going. I thought I was at the end.
I will say, like, I can speak highly of Dragon Quest 3 after playing the HD 2D remake myself. It's very charming, and for its time, rather
I was just gonna say, this used to be an NES game.
Yeah, it's rather innovative. Like, what?
That's insane.
It's a good 30 plus hours, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, absolutely.
And but it is also funny, and I can accept that in today's climate with a game that's, as retro and, not to diminish it, but simplified compared to a lot of today's offerings. The game is the same game through and through. When you get to that point and you're like, cool, I am finally done, and the game's just like, haha, you thought you were done? Alas, there's still another 15 hours to go.
It was the turning point where it's like, okay, I killed the big bad boss that I've heard all about. Oh, he wasn't the big bad boss, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the one that I heard about, but yeah.
And it's a pretty common trope in RPGs, but
yes, and not even RPGs. It's just I've heard it's pretty common with the Dragon Quest series.
Yep. I can agree with that, but still, you had a good time with it for what you did.
Yeah, no, it was impressive and it was neat going. Granted, 2D remaster. It was neat, kind of checking out that time period, if you will. Then I moved from that RPG into another RPG called Lisa, and I don't want to talk too much about the plot. It's very dark. It has dark topics, dark humor. Very cynical kind of RPG, and it was done in RPG Maker, and it was if you don't mind dark subject matters, definitely check it out.
It's a quirky thing for what it is.
Yeah. I think one of the really neat things is like you can use your different buttons to make combo attacks, but then your main character that you're playing is a what is it?
It's like a black belt or
karate
something,
guy.
Right?
Yeah. So like doing these different combos is all these like punch left, punch right, kick left, kick right, and those start getting disabled as you go throughout the game if you happen to lose your arm or arms, which you can do. So, which also makes that certain skills that you've acquired throughout the game, you no longer have access to.
That is,
so then it's like this could be your best ability, but it gone.
For being a simple RPG Maker game, which some people make some really impressive stuff with RPG Maker these days.
Absolutely.
That is a pretty interesting mechanic that not only ties in thematically, but it's almost like a difficulty option.
Yes. So it's a good game.
Yeah.
It's powerful for what it is.
It's a find out for yourself, folks, because I know Lisa is I don't know if indie darling is the best way to put it.
Gem.
But it's very much one of those for those who know, probably not too dissimilar to something like a Mori, right? It's stuck with the people who have stumbled across it.
Yes. It's definitely worth a playthrough if you do like RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
It is not those who get triggered by dark topics. So I moved on from that RPG into another RPG, which I've talked about starting, and it finally came. Lunar 1, the Superstar Saga. And, oh my god, that I have nothing but admiration for it. It was just fantastic. The voice acting, it's not the best, but it's better than some of these games that I've seen. Like, it was better voice acting than Dragon Quest 3 had.
Well, didn't it come out in like 1992? The
original, yeah. I don't know the full history. I think the PlayStation version came out in 96. It was originally on the Sega CD.
Mm-hmm.
But just they made the characters so good, and especially for like its time period, it's just the characters were relatable, and they were just enjoyable to have, and you wanted to see what these characters do. Not dissimilar to like some characters in like Final Fantasy VII and whatnot, or Chrono Trigger. I would almost, I'm not going to say it's better by any means, no. But it is, I'd put it up there with Chrono Trigger in a sense of enjoyment that I got out of it.
That is some
and that's
very high praise.
High praise.
Yes.
Yes. It's not difficult by any means. But that last boss was kind of difficult, but
neither is Chrono Trigger.
No. And maybe that's why I just like him. But I mean, Lisa was difficult. It could be brutal. So yeah, that absolutely fantastic. I fucking adore. And I didn't want to jump into number 2 because I know it's going to be different characters and stuff. So I didn't want to be comparing them. So I dove into yet another RPG. As a guy who never plays RPGs,
this is
plowing through them.
4 now.
Yeah, Dragon Quest, Lisa, Lunar, and now Suikoden 1. And it's okay.
I feel like this is where the RPG roller coaster has taken a little bit of a dip for you.
No, I am enjoying it. It's very, so the one thing with Suikoden is they boast about the amount of characters that you can get. And you know what? It is actually pretty neat how they do it. At least in number 1. I don't know anything about 2. But there's 108 characters in the game. And to get the true ending, you got to get all 108. I'm not going to be doing that. But as you progress throughout the game, you got so many different people. And you can always tell who's going to end up being recruitable because they always have an avatar when they speak. Whereas like standard just everyday people or NPCs is just a box with text.
Yeah.
So it's easy enough to find out who you can grab and who you can't. But then it has like a town building thing. Not that you're building the actual town, but like you get a fortress and you can recruit some people. Like I recruited someone from an inn because I proved myself. And now I have an inn in my base so I can sleep for free, which is great. I have a blacksmith in my town now because I brought him certain type of ore. I have so there's items that you can appraise because you don't know what it is. It's almost like an identify in like the old Diablo games.
Yeah.
And so it'd be just question marks. And then you can have this guy appraise them so you actually know what it is. And to be able to recruit him, he said he was the best appraiser of the world. There's nothing he can't appraise. So I had to find something that he wouldn't be able to appraise. So I found it, and he's like, I can't appraise this, and so you can name anything that you want. And I said, come join my army. So now he's just in my base, and he'll appraise anything. So I have all that in my, like, easy enough town.
See, I think that's interesting where, yeah, you're, like, the whole main gimmick is you're just finding 100 party members But the fact that they have, a mechanical purpose to unlocking and basically expanding upon your town per se.
Actually, one of the biggest gripes I had is the overworld had no map.
Oh no!
And it's like, where the fuck do I go? This is kind of annoying, and I didn't like it too much. I found a cartographer.
That's cool.
And now I have a map on the world map.
I like that.
So, but then you have like different characters that are good for battles and all that kind of stuff, and they start out at an X level that they're around you, but a little less. No change in weapons.
Oh.
You keep the base weapon, but you got to upgrade it.
Interesting.
And then you can put different runes and whatnot on it. So that's kind of neat. Same with magic. It's very similar to like a materia, but you can only have one.
You know what, though? With that many characters, it's kind of nice that you don't have to worry about swapping out equipment. They're just like a set build archetype, right?
That's just the weapon.
Yeah.
Armor, whole other story. And then they have like... So it's your standard like RPG, turn-based, whatnot. You select all the turns and then you let it play out. But then there's two other modes that you end up in based on story events. There's duels, which work on a rock, paper, scissors thing, and it's just between one character and one enemy. And then there's full-on army invasions, or war invasions. So it's when you send everyone from your army to attack someone. And that's how you can like raid certain castles and stuff. Which is really neat, but it also works on a rock, paper, scissors thing. So you got, for the war battles, you got like charge, magic, or archer. And then you select each person to command that. So based on who you have, they command, you got these people as archers. There is an other section. So if you have merchants in your area, they can try and convert some of those the enemy units to join your side.
Oh, neat.
You got ninjas, which can try and determine their next move. Thieves, which can steal money off the other team. So it's very neat.
It's interesting that it's not just, if you're fighting a war, it's just a series of like turn-based battles. There's actually some it's almost like a game in itself within it.
Yeah. I mean, I know number 2 does almost like a Fire Emblem kind of tactics type thing. Which is weird. But if you lose, or if you do attacks and it was the wrong choice, you can lose permanently some of your characters. Oh. There is permadeath.
Oh.
Same with some of the duels. If you have a duel with someone, they can die. And they will not be coming back.
That does make things a little bit more intense.
Yes. So, there's some risk to it. These war attacks is like, I think the last one I did was against 14,000 Imperial units versus my 8,000 or something. So it's a numbers game.
Yeah. No, I think it sounds like it's one of the franchises that I've always been curious about, since it's like Konami's big art. Well, I say big. It's not like they got a lot of entries, but they had that. Capcom had like Breath of Fire. They're more on the niche side, but they're still the more pillarish RPGs of their time, so...
I think you would like both Lunar for what it is, and I think you would really like Suikoden 1.
I think they are definitely on my radar to try out at some point.
It is definitely something that I am glad I'm finally getting into, some of these older RPGs that I've heard so much about or seen on the shelves, and... just I've heard their praises and didn't know why. And I was afraid to, like, I have no problem looking up some games because it's like I'm never going to play this, but these were a couple games that it's like I don't want to watch anything, and I've stayed spoiler free away from them, so I had no idea what to expect, and it's been a blast. I'm glad I'm finally getting into some of these.
It's nice to see a much more positive on the world of a traditional RPG.
Maybe I just like Lunar 1 because there's no random battles.
That plays a big part in it.
You can see the enemies.
My goodness.
But with that said, we kind of touched on it, but let's actually get into the topic at hand.
Grinding.
We'll be right back. Tyler, grinding in games, there's all sorts of them. All sorts of different types. And, like, we were just talking about RPGs because I've been on an RPG kick for whatever reason. No clue. Granted, not a lot of these RPGs I've been doing has involved grinding, except Suikoden a little bit. Because you gotta level up these characters, especially if they end up in a random duel. If they are not a good level, then or money. What is it about the grind that you enjoy or dislike?
Oh, well, that's going to require more than a singular answer. So,
yes.
The whole thing with the grind is
grinding.
It has such a negative reputation, and understandable, especially when, like, you know, people don't want to play games that feel like a chore, but sometimes in doing so, they have the most satisfying rewards you can get from any game. And I think probably the best example of grinding that has become super popular these days is shiny hunting in Pokemon. That is one of the most aggressive video game grinds anyone can take part in. And I know, because I've done it. Now, I know it's a lot easier these days. They've lowered the odds. But doing the same thing over and over again, and it gets boring and grueling, but the dopamine hit you get when you finally reach what you've been grinding for, unmatchable. Like, it is.
Absolutely.
And, you know, that particular process can translate into a lot of things. Like, I feel like a common grind in old school games is grinding out coins so you can buy the best equipment, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. It feels really good, but also it kind of sucks.
I think it really depends on the game that you're playing too, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at Monster Hunter, for example. Granted, I'm no expert on Monster Hunter. I've only played Monster Hunter World for like 20 hours or something, but you are grinding up parts to get the best equipment. And I feel like in a game like that, where it is a little bit RNG, but you know what you're going after and the area that you're going after, you're working toward a certain goal. You're trying to hunt something in particular, and you come up with your own routine for it. You have some kind of player choice with it.
That's just
right. Where like shiny hunting, it's just I hope this is a golden Pidgey. I don't know shiny hunting.
You're playing the odds game more so when you're doing something like shiny hunting, and yes. This is the same for something like Monster Hunter. But I feel like a secret sauce with something like Monster Hunter, because that whole game is just grind the same old fights out over and over again. But because you can also kind of gauge the progression you've been making and how much better you get at the game through the game, that it gets faster to do, or you're getting stuff better. And also the fights just get more fun because you just start feeling like this super powered killing machine, right?
I think it might be a little different too, because Monster Hunter is more like action based instead of like turn based, right?
Oh yeah, you're not just kind of sitting there wasting away hitting A over and over again.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you are in an RPG, it's nice that they have like an auto battle system that you can just use as well.
That has made grinding much. It's funny how I understand something like that as a quality of life improvement, but I also oddly look down on it. And the reason I say that, okay, so this goes back to the days of Diablo 2, and a buddy of mine ran a bunch of bots to just auto run the dungeons in like optimal paths and stuff and find the best route. And like, you know, this would occupy his computer for days just playing in the background. And all I could think is like, why you're not even playing it anymore?
Yeah, that's kind of bogus.
It's you know, maybe there's a different level of morality, because I know there was a whole like online community to Diablo 2, and he was like, you know, he's doing the grind, but he's not doing the grind.
Yeah. You know what, as someone, speaking of Diablo, I played a lot of Diablo 1 and a lot of Diablo 2, but I didn't like min-max anything and whatnot. I just got through like the main story. Diablo 3, after its DLC, when it kind of got much better, they added in rifts, and rifts were just something that you summoned in town and you go into. And they also added seasons with the DLC, and seasons would last like 3 months, and then it would reset. You'd lose that character, so you'd have to start over. And like, it's funny how going from like doing the story, you'd be at level 1, and then by the end of it, you might be max level, maybe, depending. And going into the season, we were getting to max level in an hour.
Oof.
Like, we got this down pat on what to do. But the whole idea of the seasons is there's leaderboards and you're trying to get the best. And there's a few times that I was at least within the first 100 of my class out of everyone playing, which, I mean, it doesn't sound impressive, but I'm more than happy with that. And doing the grind, going through these rifts, which is just randomized dungeons. That's it. So it's just randomized dungeons, hoping for better gear. And at least at the end of the dungeons, you also got like gems that you could spend on a gambler to try and get certain gear. Not always guaranteed, and half the time you got bogus, but the amount of hours I've spent on Diablo 3 just grinding and running those rifts, and then doing the greater rifts, which you were timed on. So if you didn't finish it within 15 seconds, but you tried to do it as fast as possible. We were doing rifts on max level difficulty, normal rifts, in less than 2 minutes. So we would run upwards of 100 to 200 rifts in a night, in a sitting, me and my friends.
Jeez.
That's a lot of grinding in hope. And you know what? After those 200 runs, we may not get jack shit.
You know what's wild?
But we grinded.
To
the point that me and my friend both fell asleep during one of the timed rifts.
Jeez.
All I heard was a thought on his end, and that woke me up. It's like, oh shit, I just fell asleep. It's like, it's pathetic, but hilarious.
Diablo 3's been out for, like 15 years now?
It's something like that, yeah.
So it's kind of wild how like that game structure has turned into... Anyone who says, they don't like playing games that are too grindy, but they play damn near any mobile game or any live service game does not understand that that's all they're doing. It is...
Yeah, absolutely.
It's... okay, so now this is taking a bit of a turn away from the topic, but on the same topic, how the grind has become so, like, concerningly monetized in the gaming landscape these days. And, like, I can even point to something that I absolutely love playing. I haven't played it in, like, 2 weeks because I got locked out of my Nintendo account somehow.
Oh,
but,
no.
The Pokemon TCG Pocket app, like, yeah, it is enjoyable free, but it is just... grind out battles, and that's pretty much the platform of most to all mobile. If it's got missions, you're just grinding.
Oh, absolutely.
That's all it is.
It's just nonstop. Kind of on a secondary subject, well, different point of view for grinding. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, you're talking about that again. Shut up. Like, too bad. Games like Factorio or Satisfactory. That game is essentially a grind with a puzzle mechanic where you're trying to, at least for me, where I try to like maximize my efficiency in it. You're going to get ores, which you get into smelting. So you want to maximize this belt. And there's a non-stop just trying to progress. And it is, in essence, just a grind up to complete different tech things as fast as you can.
I feel like...
Same kind of idea because it's doing your copper stuff versus your iron stuff. It's the exact same process, but there's always going to be more. Oh no, this patch is running out, or this patch isn't producing enough. I need to set up a train and mine more. That is in itself a grind.
Well, similar case for pretty much any of those kind of like, not sim-esque games, but like Stardew Valley. That's more or less just... Farming has got to be the ultimate grind for you, think. Video game form of the lifestyle so many left so many years ago. And I would say SimCity, but I haven't played enough SimCity. I don't think city management counts as a grind. You're mostly just putting things down and watching, like some kind
I think,
of creep.
I think it kind of depends on what the city builder is based on. Like the older SimCities, yeah, I guess you could kind of say that because you're just more residential, more industrial. But you also have to kind of plan it out, right? Where if you get like some of these more advanced ones where you're like, okay, I gotta get this, so we have this and this. It's more like a structural based puzzle that you're working on. Yes, you're always advancing, but at the same time, you're also designing. And I mean, you could argue the same thing with Factorio or Satisfactory, but Yeah, it's not so much a grind. It's not, oh, I need more housing. Let's do more housing. But something like RimWorld or Oxygen Not Included, where you're always trying to keep up on certain resource expenditures, that could definitely be a grind. Where some of the advanced city building, like if you're going through it properly, you won't be expending those expenses as much, but you are still trying to minimize costs versus your efficiency.
So here's an interesting spin on the concept of the grind. Is the subliminal grind, which, if I'm going to point to anything that makes sense of that, it would be mostly roguelites. Like, think of something like Dead Cells or even Hades, where, yes, you are doing the same thing, but you are constantly picking up these micro upgrades along the way. So you're just grinding at the game all the same, but you're getting those little doses of, progression and expansion, right?
Drip-fed dopamine.
Just major. Oh my god, roguelites is such a good dopamine hit.
It's hilarious because, like, Dead Cells, yes, you absolutely get the upgrades and whatnot. Hades, I think, did it best because you kind of chose what you wanted to start upgrading with your. I forget what it's called. I haven't played in a while.
Your boons.
But, like, roguelikes in general are essentially just keep going till it's easy enough.
Well,
if you think about it, roguelikes.
Yeah, roguelites, very much so. Roguelikes that are randomized all the time. I mean, yeah, it's the same gameplay, but everything's so vastly different every time that it's almost the opposite. It's weird. It's very similar, but very different.
So with that said, what is your type of grinding that you like?
You know what always gets me in, like, any game where I will be hellbent on continuing until I succeed is any, like, Metroidvania or action RPG with really rare drops from enemies. It is so stupid how much time I will spend running in and out of a doorway to kill this same enemy back and forth to drop that one thing that I might never use, but I know it's hard to acquire.
I think the biggest thing I can attest with that certain scenario is getting the Sword of Kings in Earthbound.
See, that's a good example. Now, that's on the RPG side. So, that's a boring grind.
That's 1 out of 128 chance.
Yeah, to fight very hard enemies to do so at that.
To fight very hard enemies to do so.
Yeah.
I've done it once.
No,
because I've played Earthbound a few times. It was one of those things that it's like, I have to. And there's been certain things that, like, situations like that, it's like, if you've really enjoyed a game and you've done multiple playthroughs, it's one of those things that it's like, okay, I need to at least do it once.
Mm-hmm. Yep, nope, that is understandable. You're kind of like going for the built-in achievement sort of thing. Yeah. No, for me specifically, what comes to mind is playing the Metroidvania Castlevanias, like the DS ones and etc. Like how I was playing Order of Ecclesia recently.
Oh, okay.
And there's something that these games do that fucks with my head, is whenever you encounter a new enemy, it will tell you their drop rate odds, and when you tell me they're really low, I'm going to be like, I'm going to be here for an hour because I have to know what the heck it is. I need to see what's behind those question marks. And a lot of the times it'll be something really dumb, but I'll still do it.
With Order of Ecclesia, like, you gain abilities.
Yep.
From those monsters that you're killing, right?
That
like, that's what's dropping as new abilities.
Also items, but yes, there are also rare drop abilities and stuff. Like, it's so addictive somehow.
Yeah. It's just that slim chance. It's like, I'll show you, I'll beat the system, and it's maybe a terrible thing to compare it with, but at the same time very accurate. Slot machines.
Oh, so I was actually going to say another grind that gets me, and this is one of the ones that I hate doing, but I will do for hours. If there is a game, more often than not, it'll be an RPG that has like a casino like side area thing where you can only earn that casino specific currency, and if you save up so much of it, you can get like a really rare weapon or something. I will be there for literal days.
So with that said, have you done the one in Stardew?
No, actually, I don't believe I have.
Did you even know about it?
It's been a while since I played Stardew. It's in the bar, isn't it?
It is.
Oh no, the casino's in the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever got to it, actually.
You got to meet certain requirements. So.
Yeah. No, but I could see myself getting lost in that for an hour. No, when I think of stuff like that, I think of like like the may it rest in peace, the game corners of the classic Pokemon games, because it's just slotted a little bit of gambling into the kids' games. Why don't we? Or probably one of the ones I spent the most time on recently is in Dragon Quest XI. There's a couple casinos in the game, but it's nice because they have more than slots. They have like blackjack and stuff like that, but still hours upon hours grinding at blackjack and stuff.
Actually, you know what? I don't know why that just reminded me of, well, casinos. There was a game that me and my friends used to play all the time called Towers Unite. And it's actually, it started as a mod for Gmod called Gmod Towers. And then they made their own standalone version to purchase. And it's essentially like, it's, okay, this is going to sound weird. So there's a lobby that you can run around in. You can buy items, and you're just there with a bunch of people. It's kind of like a Second Life almost type thing. But then you can like queue up for different game modes, and then it'll bring you to a new server for those game modes. So there's like ball race, which is very similar to like a Super Monkey Ball. You're trying to get through the course as fast as possible to beat everyone else, and you get coins and things that you can do. Purchase things and reputation and all this kind of stuff. So you gain those points by playing the games. But they also had in the lobby area a casino. Like they had some stupid things. You could do fishing. You could do jetpacking. There's a roller coaster. It's just a virtual. It's silly. But then they had a casino, and the amount of time that we have spent inside that virtual casino for no other reason than, hey, we got money, let's do it.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
I mean,
and I couldn't tell you why we sat down and got enjoyment out of it. But I mean, we've hit some high payouts, but never a jackpot. It's like, haha, I did this.
I mean, I can't really say much because I am genuinely hoping that one day, and I don't think they will, unless they want to create, like they did with the N64, like an 18+ Super Nintendo games app. But I really want them to put like Vegas Stakes on there or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Just dumb old Super Nintendo casino games. Like there's something about them that's it's like the fishing games on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, they're boring as hell, but that's kind of the point.
But you know what? So talking about grinding, fishing in games.
Ooh, fishing in games is always quite the grind.
It is quite the grind, and it's silly because you aren't really getting anything. I mean, depending on the game, I guess there's certain things, but the amount of time I've spent fishing for the legendary fish in Stardew Valley, it's like I'm just going to keep fishing, and I'm going to fill my inventory up and sell it all. I don't care. I am getting these legendary fish.
There is a particular Final
just to sit in a chest and not do a damn thing.
Was it Final Fantasy 15 that had fishing?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it even got its own like spin-off game or something like that. Yeah,
I didn't like the fishing in it, and I stopped doing it. But you know what? Fishing goes all the way back to, well, probably much earlier than this, but like the love of fishing in games and grinding fishing in games. Ocarina of Time for the N64.
See, I was going to say that, and they even had it in Link's Awakening. There was fishing mini game.
Yep.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely remember spending a long time trying to find the Hylian Loach.
I just kept trying to get the biggest fish I could. No real reason.
Yeah. Well, no, I think there was a heart piece at stake, but it wasn't even about that. It was about getting the biggest fish, because you want to be able to go up to the tank and say, this big fish was caught by you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even when you had that big fish, you're like, I can do better.
Yeah.
It's like system can't even probably count.
No,
develop what I want, but I could do better.
Standing under the water with the iron boots, fishing from within the water.
Oh
yeah. What's a recent
I love
game
fishing in games
that you can think of that like you had to do the grind, but it was like oh god, I've got to grind now. Okay, hold on.
Honestly, there's a few, and it's going to be a different kind of grind that I'm going to bring up here. Trophy hunting.
Oh yeah, that is in itself a grind.
So, like Silent Hill 2, I may have been the last game I did platinum on. There's a lot of endings in that, so I think it was like 6 playthroughs or something. Back to back to back. That's a lot of playthroughs. But just grinding for those different trophies, you gotta make sure that you collect all these notes. Make sure that you don't miss some, because if you get to a certain point, you can't go back and get them. I think one thing that really pissed me off about that is I was on New Game Plus. At this point, I already know the story. I played the remake, and I know what's going to happen. So I have no problem pulling up a guide for something like that. If it's just like small little collectibles that you're going around. There was a note. There's 60 something notes, I want to say. I don't remember but around that area. I was off by 1 at the end of the game, and it's because there's one note that doesn't show up near the end if you are in New Game Plus.
Oh.
And it's like, that is evil.
Yeah.
So there is a replacement note so you can get them all, but it's way earlier.
That is definitely
and that's
rude.
only in New Game Plus. So when you're looking at a guide, it's telling you where all these notes are. It's in just normal, just new game.
Yeah.
Stellar Blade was another one that I ended up platinum and going for, and it can be a bit of a difficult game at times. Longer game. It's weird. It's like a Souls-like Devil May Cry, or what I guess is a Devil May Cry. I had a lot of fun with it, but getting the platinum was a bit tedious, and it was mostly because of the fishing. There's a lot of fishing there too.
There was also fishing in Nier. I didn't do much Nier though.
Was there fishing in Nier?
There was fishing in Nier, yeah. And it was solely just for, like, identifying things in a log. Yeah, it's like, wow, you catch this fish. That was weird that humans had something like this, isn't it?
Actually, a trophy that I got, and we've talked about this game a couple times. It is a B game, if you will, that I did quite a bit of grinding in just to get the trophy, was Visions of Mana. That was a little painful to actually go for, because I did have to grind my characters. I had to go into hard mode, and it's funny because I got to a point when I absolutely broke the game. I could just do special after special after special, and in the game there's these orbs which replenish your special gauge. I had so many of those, it was causing graphical glitches.
I do remember.
But I had to level up my characters. I had to level up my characters so I could kill the final bosses, optional bosses. Of the game for those trophies, like the Black Rabbi.
Yeah, I do recall that, but they also make things a lot of, it's like, there's items that you get that you can increase your experience gain and stuff like that, so they are at very least aware that you will have to grind at some point. Here's a little something to make it a little less painful.
Well, after you beat the game, you unlock like the hardest difficulty, and you can turn it on any time.
And that has a multiplier too, does it not?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that definitely helped out with it, but holy crap. That was painful.
See, I find it's games that incorporate RPG mechanics that, well, you know, sometimes enhance the game, but then when you get to something with like the grind, for example, playing River City Ransom, like, yeah, it is cool that it's like an old school beat 'em up with like some RPG stat values and stuff. But also, you need to get money to buy things to increase your stats, and sometimes it's just like, man, I need to make like $16 to eat a couple hamburgers, but I have to beat up like 50 guys because they only give me like 70 cents each.
Okay, so I've been playing Suikoden 1, and because of the amount of characters that you can get, and you're constantly like, okay, we got to try and level everyone up. Maybe not equally, but it is pretty easy to level things up. Because there's a level cap in areas. So you could bring someone very low level into a higher level. As long as they survive the fight, they'll shoot up like 30 levels. No problem. But then you gotta get gear for them. And you need money for that. And I'm constantly out of money. And I know this is probably a me issue, but at the same time, trying to upgrade the weapons, buy everyone the best gear. Like, I don't have the best gear right now because I can't afford it. And during one of the duels, when there was trying to avoid plot spoilers, but it was a big duel, one of my favorite characters versus a big baddie, we'll say, he would die. And there's a big, like, journey to the opening of that. And it's like, okay, no, restart. And it took me 6 fucking tries to finally get, like, in between, I do a couple runs of this and do the cutscenes and skip all the dialogue as fast as I can. Finally get to the battle, he dies. And it was so infuriating that I stuck around and then just started going into the last zone that I was comfortable in, walking back and forth and slowly getting this character up 30 to 40 XP at a time to level him up to the next level. Hopefully that would push me over to win the duel. And then it didn't. So I had to start farming for the money. Farming, great word for grinding. Yep. Finally got the equipment and then finally won the battle after the 6th attempt. And I was not happy with that.
It's funny how, like, like, farming and grinding are essentially the same thing, and yet I use them interchangeably for certain circumstances. So, for example, if I'm playing, like, an old-school Mega Man game, and I just have to kill those, like, simple respawning enemies for health, I consider that farming, even though, like,
yep.
You know, that's a grind in itself, but it just feels like a bite-sized grind, so I don't consider it grinding. It's the same, but
did you ever get into MMOs?
I was actually going to ask you that. I didn't, but I know that you did, and my understanding is that's all they are.
Yeah.
But with community.
Yes. So obviously I was a part of we had a guild in World of Warcraft, and I've had numerous characters in World of Warcraft. I played it for years, and on and off. I stopped after Burning Crusade, which was the 2nd expansion, then I came back for the 4th. And 5th, stopped during the 5th, came back for the 6th, I think, and yeah, love-hate relationship with World of Warcraft. But like, when you get to the end game, it is just about running these dungeons that you can only do once a week, at least at the time before they had the raid finder thing. Trying to hopefully get one of these items, and if that item was good for multiple people, then you'd be rolling on it and hoping that you get it.
Yeah, I think
that it itself is a grind. And you know what? It wouldn't be so bad if pretty much all the quests weren't go catch some of these or go fight some of these.
See,
the raids were at least fun because you're dealing with boss mechanics and you had to work as a group. If you didn't work as a group, you'd be totally annihilated. So it's a lot of communication. You had your leader, your commander, if you will, and you had to play it out strategically. But then it also got to a point when, like, everyone would just look up guides. Like, this is how you should build your character. This is what you need to do for the fight. This is where you need to stand for the fight. And this is the rotation that you need to max out your DPS. And it's like, that takes all the fun because I'm just taking what you've told me to do it. But I also understand the time-saving bit. Why am I getting enjoyment out of it if I have to do things this way?
I mean, the meta of something can often enhance or ruin it. That's why, you know, I get a lot of, I get really disheartened on something when it's like, no, it has to be played the optimal way, right?
Yes.
I would much rather be able to express myself through how I game, which,
yes,
you know, that's why a lot. It's an issue that I run into a lot because I play a lot of card games, and you end up coming across people playing the quote unquote best decks in the meta, right? So,
yep,
and card games themselves is nothing but a grind. You're just doing the exact same thing over and over again. That is why it's fun. And I think that's like, there's 2 different kinds. Well, there's probably more than 2, but, you know, forms of satisfaction that I can find that I get out of the grind, which is 1, the reward at the end of the road. So for something like, let's say, shiny hunting.
Yep.
Or, you know, to take the more Monster Hunter or even card game approach, it is just to hone my skills, right?
Yes.
And that could be...
No, that's fair.
Speedrunning's probably the ultimate grind.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I've done that.
That's all you're doing, is just the same thing over and over again.
Yep. No, speedrunning is a whole other beast of grinding, because you are literally... And chances are, and I think the worst thing about speedrunning is because if you don't start off good, you're never getting practice on the back end.
No.
So it's much easier to make a fault at the back end. But at the same time, if you didn't start good, why are you continuing on? Now, I used to speedrun Axiom Verge quite a bit. And on both Switch and PC. I went through countless controllers trying to find out what's going to be optimal for me, where I'm messing up a lot in my movements and why. So certain D-pad movements, I had to find something that's going to exactly work the way I want. Which it ended up being two different controllers. If I could merge them together, that would have been the perfect controller for it. And that was the D-pad of the PS4 controller mixed with the trigger buttons and face buttons of the Switch Pro controller. And I couldn't tell you how many times I've ran through Axiom Verge to completion and just started the beginning. But I can tell you for sure it's going to be over 300, 400 attempts.
Jeez.
No problem. Now, at the time, it's advanced a lot since. And there's also like glitch runs now, which I've tried out. They're fun enough to like try and perform, but they aren't interesting to watch, I find. I want the actual like skill based, not glitch based.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the leaderboards inside the game can't tell. But there was once upon a time that I was in 6th place or something like that, maybe 7. I think it was 6. So that as a reward, like satisfaction, how close I got to getting the top 5, or I had no chance of getting world record, but like speedrunners do. They can work toward that first record, and it is going to be a grind. You're doing the exact same thing, and some of these speedrunners have like over 10,000 attempts, right? It's an interesting whole grind on its own.
The closest thing to a speedrun I think I've ever done was when I was playing Hades and getting through it. I think it was like just under 15 minutes or something like that, which I know there are people who blow that time out of the water. But considering this was a game that when first initially played, like your first few runs take like almost an hour.
Yeah. And that was like a friendly competition between you and me and a friend, right? So there's 3 of us trying to get in and get the best time. And it was funny because I get the best time, and then he get the best time, and then you get the best time. And then we just kept switching places like that, almost like a wheel, train. And then all of a sudden you came in with this time, and it's like, okay, fuck you too.
No, it was the goals to like, it was like sub 25, and then it was like sub 22. It was just like, I don't know how I did it, but I just like shaved like 7 minutes off.
Oh, look. First sub 20, and then you just come in like our sub 20 was like 19 minutes and 55 seconds or some shit.
Yeah.
And then you come in with like a 15-minute, and it's like, oh.
With the biggest, slowest weapon at that.
Okay.
I can't wait for Hades 2. My goodness.
That's going to be a good time.
Yeah. So.
Which, a roguelike, that is not a speedrunning grind I'd want to do.
Dude, and it's weird, isn't it? Like
any kind of roguelike speedrun, I'd never want to try and attempt. And it's been something that's been on my mind if I ever want to speedrun something, but I'm too busy getting new experiences.
See,
something like that speedrunning grind is fun.
If I was going to try and speedrun something, I would probably try and speedrun something like just off the beaten path. Like I would love to speedrun something like Legend of Mana or something like that.
Yeah. I honestly have no idea why I started speedrunning Axiom Verge. It was over, and it's like, I want more.
Yeah.
And then they came out with a randomizer when I was speedrunning it. That was great.
God, I would be terrible at that randomizer.
Now I would be too.
Yeah.
Unless I got the right coat right off the hop.
Ooh. Yeah. Axiom Verge is cool. It's a shame the sequel was just okay.
The sequel is fine. It's just not... When you take the bosses out, and just to keep it relevant, the boss grind out, it's not as fun. No. And for those that don't know, Axiom Verge 2 didn't have... They had bosses around, but they weren't mandatory or anything, so there was no... You just ran by them.
I like the concept of just, like, idle roaming bosses, right? But also give me actual bosses, too. Make the idle ones seem like an interesting challenge.
Yes.
Make like an optional boss.
Everything was an optional boss, aside from the final boss.
Everything was. So satisfying.
You'd think we'd enjoy it.
You'd think we would, yeah. No. I don't know. I think that, like, it takes a certain kind of person to enjoy doing the same monotonous task over and over again. But
Oh, I just thought of a grind that I had a lot of fun with, and I never did actually finish it.
What's that?
The Hollowness Pantheon.
Oh god.
In Hollow Knight, and I think that's 52 bosses you have to fight in a row.
Something like that, yeah.
And I've been to the end, and oh my god, I've got to the end. I've almost completed it, and then just get destroyed. But getting to some of those final fights, just the adrenaline that you get from that, and the excitement that you get from actually beating one of those bosses near the end and making it that far, like, it's an accomplishment in itself, and the reward is just maybe not best for everyone, but just the heart's pumping and the adrenaline's flowing, and you feel so good and unstoppable until you are stopped. But that grind, I've done that quite a few times. I don't even know, but because it's long. It is a boss gauntlet. No questions asked.
Yeah,
I thought about, like, once Silk Song gets an announcement and I replay it, I'm going to try and do that Pantheon again.
I know I want to revisit Hollow Knight when Silk Song eventually comes out, because I have been holding off for that specific reason.
Yes.
But I don't know if I'll be that ambitious. I do
you got to at least try the Pantheon.
See that, and I also need to finish the Grim DLC.
Yes, because that Nightmare Grim is probably one of my favorite fights.
I just hate going around the whole map. That's the boring part.
The music. The
music is incredible. That is very true.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And you can do that whole map thing in like 30 minutes.
Oh, I know. I think when I got it, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to be done with this.
Yeah, but the Pantheons are a lot of fun. It's just, oh, God.
Yeah. I like a good boss rush.
It's a lot of bosses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 50 plus. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, heading back to the RPG grind, because we didn't really talk about, okay, you're leveling up for grinding, killing, just walking in circles where random encounters happen, in hopes that you'll get something that gives you enough XP to level you up so you can conquer the next area, or money. But like that's essentially it. You're wandering around, and it is a very tedious type of grind, type of farming, if you will. Same with MMOs can be like that too, right? So you're trying to get into an area, you're just grinding the last bit. I don't feel like a lot of games nowadays are like that. They've kind of taken away that kind of grind and subjected it to something else.
No, it's a rather antiquated concept.
Yeah. A lot of like Super Nintendo NES style era of grinding.
There's one console that was probably one of the worst for it. It would have been the Game Boy Advance, because they really tried to stretch out a lot of those games. And so that's why, like, the Castlevania games for Game Boy Advance and stuff, they have those lengthy grinding segments.
Yes.
The portable game scene was just littered with it to an absurd degree.
Well, it kind of moved away from the NES era, Super Nintendo era, into the portable gaming era, right? The Game Boy Advance and whatnot.
It stepped aside for a game to evolve into its weird 3D polymorphous self.
Well, that was kind of the way that they made the game longer, right?
Yes. Yeah, the grind was oftentimes just an artificial lengthening technique.
Yeah. By a lot of companies.
There was something specifically that I was going to mention for the Game Boy Advance, though. But I do.
Have you ever done a very tedious grind on purpose?
Oh, multiple. Oh, I play RPGs for that very reason sometimes.
I'm just thinking about, as a kid, Kingdom Hearts 1 came out. And there's an area, it's like a good drag strip in, what is it, Traverse Town? The first town that you're in. And I just remember going along that back and forth till the enemies respawned non-stop. And I was so over-leveled. Like, I was high enough level that I would have been that level on my first playthrough at the end.
Oof.
And at that point, they were giving you, like, no XP.
No, you're getting like one per enemy if that's the case. It's funny actually, because I believe there is now it's like, I don't know if it's a challenge run or something like that, but it's like get to level 100 on Destiny Islands.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is painful to say the least.
I mean, a lot of MMOs have something like that too.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Yeah, that is very true.
Like Mists of Pandaria in World of Warcraft, there's people who try and get to max level just in the starting area because you don't start with a faction. You are factionless, you aren't Horde or Alliance, and you're just on this island, which is actually a giant turtle, but besides the point. And challenge runs in themselves. I mean, we talked about speed running, but like Souls games, level 1 Souls runs, and like these self-imposed challenges, like they blindfold runs, anything that might show up in AGDQ.
That's a weird thing to grind things blindfolded.
I mean, people have done it. People have done Sekiro blindfolded.
Yeah.
That's disgusting. I think some of the more interesting ones, and it's grindy because it's going to take a lot of attempts. All the Soulsborne without a death.
Oh, I remember I watched a video about that. That was a painful journey to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just the Souls games in general. It's funny though because Souls games are everything like in your power not to grind, because when you lose that massive chunk of souls that you've accumulated, it's like
it hurts. It hurts so much. But then you get used to it, and then it's like, oh, whatever. That's just 10,000. That's fine.
Yeah. No, this is fine. I will be all right.
Oh dear, so many games with grinding that could be part of it. I mean, pretty much all games have like some kind of RPG element to them now.
That's what I was thinking of. One of the cruelest games for grinding is in the Mega Man Battle Network games. So they have, a Pokemon-esque element to it with the battle chips, to collect them all, and then you can get more post-game content. And so whenever you beat a boss in the story, they will show up as random encounters in certain areas, but they are significantly stronger versions of it. And so... And this is one of those things where you can't save your game to predict before fighting a harder boss. You just have to run around for hours in one area fighting, hoping they'll show up. And when they do, you have to hope that they don't also kick your ass.
Oh.
Yeah, that is a mean grind right there.
That is rough. Yes.
Yeah, you can luck out.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a random encounter. You might get really lucky. More often than not, though, the odds are pretty low you're going to run into them.
And depending on like what level the enemies are around you, if you're low health and going into the next battle, and then it's like, oh shit, I got 10 HP.
You can just forget.
My first few turns are going to be healing myself in desperation and hope he doesn't get the first shot.
Forget to heal in between, and then you just get destroyed. Oh yeah, it's
I've done that so many times in games, and then I'm just. I hate myself for it.
All right, I'm putting this away for a couple of hours. That's enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Oh, God.
Well, what do you think? Do you think we've grinded out this topic a fair bit?
I think so. There's so many different types of grinding. Some are great, some are bad, some are neat, some are enjoyable to watch from afar.
That's the thing. Like, as frustrating as it can be, I do at the very least like to look at the positive spin of it. It is a very goal-oriented practice, right? And it does actually feel good to end up getting that carrot at the end of the stick, per se.
Even if that carrot is just, okay, now I can be done with it.
Throw it on the pile, move on to the next thing. Yep, there's
right, it's like, I got the best armor. Okay, put it down.
Yep, moving on.
What do I do with the armor? No, I just bragging rights for, I don't know.
I just
other
wanted
nerds.
It. Yeah, I didn't have it, and I thought I had to.
What is your favorite type of grind?
Honestly, probably the random drops in the Metroidvanias. I don't know why. I think it's just because Metroidvanias are a lot of fun, so I don't mind just running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to try to get the thing. I would say shiny hunting, but no, shiny hunting sucks. It's like, and you don't even get anything that good other than different colored pixels. Like,
Fair.
Yeah, I'd say something like that. Or, like the grind in something like Stardew. But it's a little different to look at it the same because that is the point of the game, right? So,
yes.
But that would be for me. How about yourself?
For me, it would be the glitchless speedruns.
All right.
That grind, seeing the growth and the experience and the failures along the way. And I think it's because it's more skill-oriented and you're trying to get better at something versus... Well, depending on the title, I guess. But besides random chance.
The skill-based grind is a good time. Again, that's pretty much the core reason to enjoy something like Monster Hunter.
Absolutely. If it wasn't for that, I'd say like the factorial grind, where you're constantly in a deficit of resources and you're just constantly trying to make things bigger, nonstop.
More money.
The factory must grow.
Yes.
So, with that, I guess we shall wrap it up. I got more Suikoden 1 to go to.
Yeah, I'm gonna play more Armored Core because that shit's cool.
Yes. So I know this is another short episode. Apologize. We are getting into summer. This is busy time. Everything's kind of happening at once, and we are short on time. So with that said, thank you. This has been episode 60. You can find us on Twitter, still calling it Twitter, or Blue Sky, or Instagram at OptionalBossPC. We don't post a lot on Instagram, to be honest, or anywhere, to be honest, but yeah, find us out on there. You can find us on YouTube for all our episodes. You can tell a friend, tell a family member, tell an enemy, tell people who may listen. With that said, we will see you next time.
Bye!